Welcome to the Manufacturing Shakeup. We're your hosts, Ellen Feldman-Ornato
and Jenny Drescher. We're talking with dynamic women from across the manufacturing scene in Connecticut. Friends, what makes you feel scared, unsettled, discordant even? It is fall at the time of this recording. We're headed into Halloween, and we want to know what makes you feel creepy. Our friend today is Catherine Pratt. And Catherine Pratt is going to tell us about how she is working hard to help herself feel not so unsettled about a critical aspect of our world. Catherine from HyAxiom, welcome to the Manufacturing Shakeup.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here with you.
So the creepy thing that I'm talking about, friends, is climate change. No, before you back away, I know we're all like, wait, big global problem. What am I supposed to do about it? Catherine, can you share with our audience, like, you have a cool story about what made you start to get into the tech side of making our world better. Can you tell us what was on your mind about this that led you to this work?
Sure. Yeah. Even as a kid, I was interested in sustainability, and my favorite subject in school was math. So with those two aspects, I decided to focus on engineering, and I studied chemical engineering. I chose chemical engineering with the goal of applying this discipline to solving like sustainability issues. And particularly climate change is a huge one. And it's a great fit for engineering to go into. And I like to say that. So I work at HyAxiom, and we make fuel cell power plants. And so when we talk about global warming and we think about carbon dioxide and carbon emissions being a big part of that, the world is looking for greener energy. We're talking about renewable energy. We're talking about decarbonizing energy. And so what we work on at HyAxiom is greener power. It's power without carbon emissions.
Why do you care about that? I like, what matters to you about that? Why does this leave you? You use the word unsettled.
Yeah, it is unsettling. It's a looming problem. It's a problem that's getting worse, and it's one that is going to impact future generations. I think about that a lot. I think about the idea of having a healthy world for ourselves, but also what are we leaving for next generations? And I think about that maybe even more so as a parent, and I think about my children, and they learn about these topics in school, and they come home with snippets what they learn in their science class, and sometimes they are worried too. And it feels good to be able to tell them that yes, these are big problems, but there's a lot of people working on them, and we're working to solve them. So it feels I feel very aligned that I get to put my efforts in each day addressing these issues.
Yes, some would even say purpose-driven. That you've figured out how to align your position. Very often when I think of purpose-driven, I think of people who work in nonprofit organizations solving social problems. But here you are, an engineer working in a very high-tech organization on the leading edge of manufacturing. What does it feel like to be part of an organization that's on the leading edge of technologies that will affect global climates?
Yeah, it's so exciting. There's a lot of hype about hydrogen as a fuel source, and that's something that we are ready for, and we're already doing. And it's really exciting time. It feels like you're in the midst of a change that's going to make a huge impact.
Oh my God, I just got chills. Like that was like, so I'm making a note around that. Friends out there who are listening always for our shake-up factors, I just heard one that jumped out at me like a screaming freight train, which is find something that you want to make a difference around, go figure out how you're good at it and get to work. Like, jump in and say, here's what I'm good at. Here's the thing I want to make a difference doing. Like, this is so exciting that you're up to this.
Thanks. Yeah. I've heard the advice of when trying to find your career, what problems do you want to solve? You know, and that's half of it. And there's also your aptitudes and what you really love. But, you know, those problems that you want to solve kind of keep you going each day.
Now, one of the things that we know, because we've had a little opportunity to talk with you before this, is that you've moved fairly recently into managing others who are doing work. So what was that journey like to go from a sole contributor into a position where you're managing others? And also, can you weave in how that sort of purpose-driven work that you're so passionate about manage others?
Sure. Yeah. So I worked as more of an individual contributor for a number of years as an engineer. And then in the last couple of years, I've moved into my current role. So I'm a program manager. And I would say that it was a growth over many years to get to this point, to move up to the role. I found that when I first started my career, very focused on what was asked of me and my individual contribution. And as I grew in my roles and grew in my skills and just gained experience, I found that I was becoming more interested in how the team is functioning or how the project is going, and had a lot of just more interest in that, and maybe an inclination to try to help influence and move things in some directions that, you know, as in my engineering role, it wasn't really within my wheelhouse or my role. So moving up into the next level, it sort of made sense over time. And another thing that I'd like to mention is something that I've been working on and cultivating over some years is like a growth mindset. And I think having a growth mindset, so, you know, looking at, maybe if you're not familiar with something, I don't know it, it's I don't know it yet. And having this understanding that you can grow, and having that kind of mindset was something I developed over time, and it really helped me take on some new challenges with the new roles.
Yeah, so this allowing yourself to not have answers strikes me as really important, right? It's a critical aspect. So part of what Catherine's referencing, if you haven't heard about it, it's a really great body of work that is available by, it's about growth mindset, and it's Dweck. The woman's last name is Dweck. Somebody out there in the cyber sphere will post on LinkedIn and remind Carolyn Dweck, I think is her first name. And this growth mindset thing, I think, is really critical for people who want to follow, this is the problem I'm solving, right? Because if we're trying to solve a problem, we don't yet know how to solve the problem. Growth mindset is baked right into that. So how have you used this growth mindset model to say, I don't know how to solve it yet. I want people on board as a leader to help me solve it. Like, what does that look like for you as a leader? Like, what are the behaviors you try to demonstrate that help people come on board with, this is what we're out for, and this is how we're growing to that problem-solving place? What do you demonstrate?
Yeah, well, a couple things come to mind. I mean, one thing is in the role that I have, I do try to keep the bigger picture in mind for myself and for the team. So for us, that means talking about our customers and what our customers need, and that keeps us motivated and aligned with the work that we're doing, and excited about delivering our products to our customers. So that's one thing. Another thing that comes to mind with that question is part of growth mindset is responding to feedback and appreciating feedback. And so with my team, I try to be very honest with them. If there's maybe areas of the business that I need to learn more about, I might let them know, I have a blind spot here. I would love for you to help guide me through this. I need to learn more about this. I'm learning about this. So we, try to be really transparent about areas that I need to grow. And when team members do bring issues to me or recommendations to me, I really appreciate that. And I think it helps us all do better, helps me do better, helps our team move forward more easily. And it also means that we've got some good channels of communication. So that they feel comfortable to say like, oh, maybe we should do it this way. So having that kind of mindset around feedback has also been very helpful.
How does that help you to build the capacity of your team? Like, how do people respond when you've got that appreciation of feedback, when you're willing to acknowledge you have blind spots, when you're asking them to be collaborative with you? How does that expand how they act and the kinds of things they bring to you?
Yeah, I believe that shows some honesty, which helps build trust. I'm not pretending that I know something, or so I'm being pretty honest with them, and so I think that's important for trust. And then certainly allowing other people to take ownership of their expertise just helps build in commitment from everybody.
You just used one of our favorite words, which is ownership. We love ownership. That's one of our hot words inside both the manufacturing shakeup and at the Boulder Company and the work we do with our clients. And so ownership for your talent, ownership for what you bring to the table seems like a critical factor in leadership, in addition to ownership for here's where I'm flawed, or here's where I'm struggling or working on something. As you've advanced to your leadership position, what has been important for you to own about your own excellence and your own greatness so that you're modeling it for other people coming up through your company or other places in your life?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. For me, in the role that I have, I leverage a lot of the experience that I have. So I've been working for Connecticut manufacturers, making pretty complex systems for over 17 years. So I try to leverage that and bring that to the table because it's often, very relevant to the problems that we're dealing with.
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
I'd like to swing in a different direction just for a moment, because I think a lot of people are hearing about the big wind project that's happening down in the Connecticut shoreline. And Paul is over in Europe talking with wind companies over there. And we know that there's a huge push in Connecticut for solar energy. And where do hydrogen fuel cells, because I think the science of this reflects a real advance here in the state of Connecticut towards energy economies. Again, how do those all integrate? The science of this is super cool. So for all the science geeks that are listening out there who are like me, I love to know how things are made, right? Get it made here in Connecticut.
Yeah. So fuel cells have a pretty versatile fit in the world because they can be a sole power source. You could take a natural gas fuel and reform it for hydrogen. The fuel cell takes hydrogen and oxygen from air, and the hydrogen and oxygen react electrochemically to make power, and then heat and water are the only other byproducts. So we have situations where you've got stationary power coming right from the natural gas fuels. If you have access to hydrogen, you can also make power with the fuel cell that way. But when we talk about renewables, there's also a place for hydrogen fuel cells, because with wind and solar, there's sometimes intermittent supply of that energy source, the wind or the sun. And so systems can be set up to bank power, or you can use excess power during low demand times and make hydrogen with an electrolyzer, which is another thing that HyAxiom is involved with, to store hydrogen, and then use that in a fuel cell for the demand times. So it can help stabilize and even out power when you have the renewables that might not be as consistent.
Super
so
cool.
Connecticut can really we love our little state. We are huge fans of what all the people make in Connecticut, and we know you are too. So I love the idea that we can sort of put a stake in the ground and say, right here in Connecticut, we are making something that is really advancing the health of our environment. That is not a small, I want everybody to just let's raise that flag for ourselves, for our little mighty state where we do cool stuff. Do you know of, I have no idea the answer. Do you know of other companies in Connecticut that are aligned around this belief that you have that we can make a difference, that we can solve this problem? What other companies in Connecticut are advancing the solutions?
Yeah, there are other companies that are involved in the green energy space in Connecticut. I couldn't comment exactly on all of them, and I wouldn't want to do that at this time. But yeah, I think Connecticut is a leader in some ways for technology. Yeah.
And going back to purpose, we'll swing back to that to sort of wrap this up. You also shared with us that you have 2 elementary school kids and a preschooler. If you think about how do you want the world to be in 10 or 15 or 20 years with regard to carbon emissions and what's happening in our world, what are you hoping for the future?
Yeah, I'm hoping that it will be something under wraps, something that we've managed. We've gotten to net zero and it's no longer a crisis. That's my hope. That's my dream. They're not worried about that, and they're moving on to something else. Yeah.
Mom's going to solve for X. I love it.
Wow. Right? I love that. I am leaving this, I asked you at the top, what makes you feel unnerved, right? And we got to hear today a great story about one woman in Connecticut doing something about the thing that made her feel unsettled. So friends, hot shake-up factor number 1, what makes you feel unsettled and what are you doing about it, right? Catherine just gave us so many rich nuggets about how to do that. So choose one and post it on social media. Let us know what's the problem you're out to solve and how are you going about it and why does it matter for you, right? Together in Connecticut, we get to make the difference around the things that matter most to us. Hot shake-up factor also that I love from Catherine today is this really share your journey transparently with those that you would hope to lead and inspire. Too many places where we feel like we have to perform something or come across as an expert. And the truth is that is a lie. And Catherine is pure evidence of that lie because she's sharing her journey with her people. So what can you do at work today to share a little more transparently with the people that you lead to engender that kind of trust and that commitment to the purpose that you're all driving towards at your plant today? So Catherine Pratt from HyAxiom, thank you so much for joining us today. I am inspired to go solve something. I'm inspired to go solve something. This is great.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks for listening to the Manufacturing Shakeup. You can listen to us each week on your favorite podcast app. You'll find us on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And if you use the hashtag MFG Shakeup, we will see them and really appreciate your spreading the word about what you're hearing and learning each week. Hey, Jenny, did I forget anything?
Yes, you did. Here's the most important bit. You may have learned something from that guest. They may have told a story about, oh, here's what I did and here how it worked. Here at the Manufacturing Shakeup, we are all about action. So take some nugget of what you heard today and put it into practice, even if it's small and experimental. Get busy, get dangerous, go shake stuff up and bring people along with you. Go take an action, post it on social media. Let's have some fun.
The Manufacturing Shakeup is sponsored by the Connecticut Office of Manufacturing, produced by Maselli Productions and Gale Communications, and hosted by the Boulder Company.